this is an iHeart podcast. Guaranteed human.
Support for the show comes from Public, the investing platform for those who take it seriously. On Public, you can build a multi-asset portfolio of stocks, bonds, options, crypto, and now generated assets, which allow you to turn any idea into an investable index with AI. It all starts with your prompt. From renewable energy companies with high free cash flow to semiconductor suppliers growing revenue over 20% year over year, you can literally type any prompt and put the AI to work. It screens thousands of stocks, builds a one-of-a-kind index, and lets you backtest it against the S&P 500. Then, you can invest in a few clicks. Generated assets are like EFTs with infinite possibilities, completely customizable and based on your thesis, not someone else's. Go to public.com/podcast and earn an uncapped 1% bonus when you transfer your portfolio. That's public.com/podcast. Paid for by Public Investing. Brokerage services by Open to the Public Investing, Inc. Member FINRA SIPC. Advisory services by Public Advisors, LLC. SEC registered advisor. Generated assets is an interactive analysis tool. Output is for informational purposes only and is not investment recommendation or advice. Complete disclosures available at public.com/disclosures.
A new year means new financial goals, like making sure your savings are secure and diversified. Will this be the year you finally talk to someone from Birch Gold Group? There are forces pushing the dollar lower and gold higher, which is why they believe every American should own some physical gold. Until January 30th, if you're a first-time gold buyer, Birch Gold is offering a rebate of up to $10,000 on qualifying purchases. To claim eligibility and start the process, just text my name, Buck, to 989898. Take advantage of this rebate, but you got to do it by January 30th. Text my name, Buck, to 989898 today.
These days, it seems like AI agents are just about everywhere you turn, every field and every function. But without identity, you can't trust they'll serve your business instead of jeopardizing it. Fortunately, Okta helps you get identity right by securing your AI agents' identities, giving you a single layer of control, a single standard of trust. So whether an AI agent supports a single user or your entire enterprise, with Okta, you'll turn risk into opportunity. Secure every agent. Secure any agent. Okta secures AI.
Chris Stapleton's All-American Roadshow.
If you want a cowboy on a white horse, riding out into the sunset, if that's the kind of love you want.
With special guests.
Oh, I think I'm in love with you. I didn't know it at the time. I know what I want to do.
Get tickets now at livenation.com. Chris Stapleton's All-American Roadshow.
Welcome in, everybody. Thursday edition of the Clay Travis and Buck Sexton Show kicks off right now. We got Jack Smith hearings on Capitol Hill. Bringing some highlights of that. I'm not expecting much to come of it, but it's causing fireworks at our nation's capital, sort of. So we will get into it in a little bit. Trump on the Greenland deal. Very interesting stuff happening there. He's talking Golden Dome, mineral rights, all kinds of goodies that he believes he has lined up for us via Greenland. And Trump speaking with Maria Bartiromo this morning, some highlights from that. J.D. Vance is in Toledo, Ohio. Gavin Newsom. We'll talk to our friend Katie Zachariah, a California political and legal analyst, about Newsom. He got a little bit of a womp because they canceled his Davos speech at the last minute. He's saying it's pressure from Trump world. We shall see more and more on all of that. In the meantime, my friends, the big news today coming out of, yes, you guessed it, Minneapolis, Minnesota. We have the following from Attorney General Pam Bondi. This on Twitter or X. Minutes ago at my direction, FBI agents executed an arrest in Minnesota. So far, we have arrested Nekima Levy-Armstrong, who allegedly played a key role in organizing the coordinated attack on City's Church in St. Paul, Minnesota. We will share more updates as they become available. Listen loud and clear. All caps now, Clay. We do not tolerate attacks on places of worship. This, I think, is what many of you have been calling for. And this is a pretty quick turnaround for DOJ, at least, on this kind of an arrest. I have to say, they wanted to make sure they get all this lined up. And this is now, I think, the beginning of more arrests like this. Although, Clay, now there's going to be a lot of rewriting of history. It was peaceful protests. We were just hanging out in the church. We were asking for directions. You know, it was no big deal. Anti-ICE church protester organizer Levi-Armstrong was on CNN last night. This is cut one. Here's her claim. This is pre-arrest, by the way. Hit it.
We did not rush into that church. We actually went and sat down and participated in the service. And after the pastor prayed, that is when I stood up and asked him a question in response to his prayer. And then he responded to me. And then I proceeded to ask him about Pastor David Easterwood and how is it possible for him to serve as both the pastor and the director of ICE for Minnesota. And instead of responding to me, as soon as I said the name David Easterwood, the pastor said, "Shame, shame." And that is when I led us in chants, "Justice for Renee Good," and "Hands up, don't shoot." So I want to clarify that. We didn't rush in. We didn't bust in.
Okay, Clay. Now it's the big mean pastor was the one who caused the problem in his church, by the way, trying to celebrate with his congregants and enjoy their connection with God. These lunatics show up once again, whether it's BLM with the cops or it's just the leftist agitators with ICE. Their main enemy, video footage. Video footage. We've all seen what happened.
You know, and yes, so credit to the Department of Justice for getting these arrests done in Minneapolis. I've actually seen, which I think speaks to even Democrats being like, yeah, this is probably inappropriate. I've actually seen so far a fairly muted response from Democrats in terms of being opposed to these arrests going on. I mean, I'm sure that there's going to be the usual suspects lining up, but it doesn't feel to me like this is some sort of cross the Rubicon moment for them. And you knew that these activists were aware that they had potentially created an issue because they very rapidly started trying to recharacterize what actually happened, even though we could all see it on video ourselves. And for those of you out there that are not familiar with the FACE Act, for instance, you know, it was actually designed to stop. If you're wondering where did this law having to do with protecting church services come from, you know what it was actually designed to do for churches, Buck? It was designed to stop white supremacists. This is their thesis when they passed it. It was designed to stop white supremacists, they said, from interrupting black churches. So, you got to be careful sometimes with the laws that you put on the books because the precedent that is applied for them can shift as the world changes, because Democrats today, Buck, we all know, would never pass a law that prohibited protests from taking place in churches. In fact, they would probably pass a law saying we need more protests inside of churches if you had to ask them to make a choice now. But this law is on the books, and Attorney General Pam Bondi traveled to Minneapolis. And this is what we somewhat talked about yesterday. It's one thing to say, arrest people, but you have to tangibly connect the arrest to a crime. And the work that has been done here, I think it's kind of an open and shut case, pretty clearly demonstrates that these individuals broke the law. And now we'll see whether a jury is willing to convict them in Minneapolis, which I think is an entirely different process. But these warrants, these arrests were signed off on, probable cause, based on the evidence. And it's pretty significant, I think, that we've already seen a result. I think Pam Bondi deserves credit. I think the Minnesota lawyers deserve credit, and the Department of Justice overall.
Now, here's J.D. Vance, by the way, speaking to this was this morning. He's in Ohio, but he was talking about the situation in Minneapolis and just how he's making the point, Clay, that we've been hammering here for days, which is this could all be made so much easier. This could be unnecessary. It is necessary because of the decisions the Democrats have made. But if they were willing to just give the slightest assistance to federal law enforcement on these issues by just allowing access into their jails, for example, by just giving a heads up, a phone call, an email, hey, you know that 3-time violent felon that has an order of deportation, we got him. We just picked him up on something. They could do that and this wouldn't be necessary. They refuse. Here's JD. This is cut 17, and he is speaking the truth about what's really going on here.
I'm headed from here to Minneapolis, where we're going to talk with some of our ICE agents, talk with local officials about how we can turn down the chaos. And my simple piece of advice to them is going to be, look, if you want to turn down the chaos in Minneapolis, stop fighting immigration enforcement and accept that we have to have a border in this country. It's not that hard. If you look all across our country, what's happened in Minneapolis is happening almost nowhere else in the United States of America. And that's because whether it's in Texas or Tennessee, it's in red states, it's in blue cities, even within our country, most people are cooperating with the simple principle that we ought to be able to enforce our immigration laws and get illegal criminals the hell out of the United States of America. It's really not that complicated.
I think it's very important that he puts it into that context, because it's a very big country. People in Minneapolis, including the mayor and the governor and the attorney general of the state of Minnesota, they have decided the law does not count in their city. They've decided they're going to stop people from enforcing the law. They don't have that right. They're wrong. And the rest of the country isn't going through this. The people are saying, oh, that's the thuggish tactics, and it's so all this stuff, the checkpoints and all of this. Do they have those in Nashville? Like, are there checkpoints in Franklin? I mean, you sit here, I'm seeing none of this in Miami because they don't have the same processes of obstruction in place.
Yeah.
They're making this happen is the point.
No, I think that's really important, because if you're in a state like you are, Florida, or a state like I am, Tennessee, by and large, there is not this obstruction constantly that is occurring of ICE's ability to do their jobs. And I would say this is one thing you could look at, and maybe Pam Bondi and her team are looking at it in Minneapolis and in Minnesota writ large right now. If there is tangible evidence of Mayor Fry saying, in some way, or Tim Walz providing instruction in some way to state or city employees to obstruct ICE's ability to do their jobs, potentially you could have an obstruction charge that could be brought against Mayor Fry or Governor Walz. This to me is one of the great questions that is out there in general, which is, to what extent is there direct evidence of behavior that would constitute a crime on behalf of these individuals who are obstructing ICE? In particular, as I said yesterday, I still think it's one of the great unexamined aspects of the entirety of the immigration era. How in the world have we allowed the possibility of a sanctuary city to exist at all? Federal law is supreme. So when the president of the United States, on immigration related issues, when the president of the United States says the law of the land is this on immigration, it is undisputedly in his province of authority. And Buck, do you remember how frustrating this was? We talked about it a lot when Biden had the open borders, and Governor Greg Abbott in Texas and so many other individuals in Texas said, we've got to have the power to control ingress and egress in our state. And they kept getting slapped down by judges who said, well, it's really more of a federal than a state issue. If that principle applies, which it does for Biden and for Trump, sanctuary cities are not permissible under federal law, and anyone who is allowing them to occur, in theory, is violating federal law, and their state and local laws are covered by the Supremacy Clause. And so you could bring charges in that aspect, which would be applicable whether it's California, Minnesota, New York, anywhere in the country.
And this is where we got into the discussion yesterday. I'm sure we still have some talkbacks about it from those who just want charges to be filed versus the, hey, let's know why we're bringing the charge approach to these things, which I think is good. Because if you bring a charge that is frivolous, especially in a place like Minnesota, they're just going to they're going to have lawyers show up in a court, and the judge is going to dismiss it, guys. This notion, the process is the punishment. Let me tell you something about this. If you're really being, grasping and you're on enemy territory politically, there really is no process. You're going to show up to court and a judge is going to say, yeah, these are garbage. See you later. And then if you try it again, you might get a judge who says, okay, you're doing something here. You might get a contempt order. So it's not as simple as just prosecute them. That's not a thing. Okay, you have to have some basis for it if you want. Now, to Clay's point about this yesterday, you get an indictment. Okay, now there's a process. Now someone's got to go through discovery and a trial and all these different things. But just bringing a charge? I mean, if let's say we brought a charge against Don Lemon's a bad example in the sense that I think he actually could be in trouble for the same reason this organizer is. But you bring a charge against someone like Don Lemon and he shows up with his high-priced lawyers, guy's got millions of dollars, and he gets a judge to slap away the charge. Literally, just throw it out. So it's over. Well, what process do you think that is other than Don Lemon walking out of the courthouse saying, I'm a hero, I'm a martyr for, ICE and, anti-ICE and all the illegals and everything else. So this is what we're trying to say, Esther. What Pam Bondi is doing is the right way. Here is the charge. Here's the evidence of violation. That's why we have arrested. Now you have a reasonable chance of a judge seeing this and at least allowing this to go to an indictment phase instead of just it's going to get. Now it might get tossed out, but I mean you're ensuring it's going to get tossed out if you're showing up with like we just arrested this person because we don't like them. Which by the way, we actually don't want that happening. I understand that this is where there's a little bit of you don't want to be in a country where you just get arrested because people don't like you. I know the other side has done this with Trump to some extent, but it failed. Right? It failed. And if you want any more proof of that, you can see the mugshot. Which, did you ever get a mugshot T-shirt? Was that you that got that, or there was some? I got a
mugshot T-shirt autographed by President Trump. It is in my house I think that is an all-timer. Maybe the greatest mugshot's ever been taken. By the way,
point here is, as far as I see it, Pam Bondi's making the right move. This arrest, this charging of this organizer, violation of law. It's there. It's real. It's clear. Let's go. If you find out that Buffoon Walls was doing something illegal, great. But we have to find that there's a thing that we can credibly say he was doing that's illegal. You can just arrest people. I don't know. I think that's a pretty self-evident, truth. All right. This is the month that many of us cut back on expenses because look, things got a little crazy in December, but I think it's time you should save some money with the easiest thing I can think of. Switch to Pure Talk. And over the course of a year, because this is going to be a monthly savings, but over the course of a year, you could save $600 to $1,000. Pure Talk saves you 50% or more off your existing cell phone bill without sacrificing any quality of service. That's because Pure Talk operates on the same cell towers and network as one of the bigger cell phone companies, but without all the overhead expenses. And the cost can be as low as $20 a month for unlimited talk, text, and 3 gigs of high-speed data on Pure Talk's super fast 5G network. Dial pound 250, say Clay and Buck. Pure Talk's U.S. customer service team will help you switch in minutes. Again, talk, text, and data for just $20 a month. Dial pound 250, say Clay and Buck. You'll save an additional 50% off your first month. Pure Talk, America's wireless company.
Making America great again isn't just one man. It's many. The Team 47 Podcast. Sundays at noon Eastern in the Clay and Buck podcast feed. Find it on the iHeartRadio app or wherever you get your podcasts.
Support for the show comes from Public, the investing platform for those who take it seriously. On Public, you can build a multi-asset portfolio of stocks, bonds, options, crypto, and now generated assets, which allow you to turn any idea into an investable index with AI. It all starts with your prompt. From renewable energy companies with high free cash flow to semiconductor suppliers growing revenue over 20% year over year, you can literally type any prompt and put the AI to work. It screens thousands of stocks, builds a one-of-a-kind index, and lets you backtest it against the S&P 500. Then, you can invest in a few clicks. Generated assets are like EFTs with infinite possibilities, completely customizable and based on your thesis, not someone else's. Go to public.com/podcast and earn an uncapped 1% bonus when you transfer your portfolio. That's public.com/podcast. Paid for by Public Investing. Brokerage services by Open to the Public Investing, Inc. Member FINRA SIPC. Advisory services by Public Advisors LLC. SEC registered advisor. Generated assets is an interactive analysis tool. Output is for informational purposes only and is not investment recommendation or advice. Complete disclosures available at public.com/disclosures.
Hi, I'm Cindy Crawford, and I'm the founder of Meaningful Beauty. Well, I don't know about you, but I never liked being told, oh, wow, you look so good for your age. Why even bother saying that? Why don't you just say you look great at any age, every age? That's what Meaningful Beauty is all about. We create products that make you feel confident in your skin at the age you are now.
Meaningful Beauty. Beautiful skin at every age. Learn more at meaningfulbeauty.com.
If your credit card balance is higher than you'd like to see after all the holiday spending, here's one way to cut expenses without sacrificing quality. Cut your cell phone bill in half by switching to Pure Talk's Saver Plan. It's just $20 a month for unlimited talk, text, and 3 gigs of high-speed data on Pure Talk's super-fast nationwide 5G network.
And as a veteran-led company who cares about giving back to those who serve, if you're active or former military or a first responder, you'll save an additional 20% every single month. Reduce your monthly recurring bills, starting with your cell phone bill. Go to puretalk.com/clay and make the switch today in as little as 10 minutes. Again, talk, text, and data for just $20 a month. That's puretalk.com/clay, and you'll save an additional 50% off your first month. Pure Talk, America's wireless company.
These days, it seems like AI agents are just about everywhere you turn, every field and every function. But without identity, you can't trust they'll serve your business instead of jeopardizing it. Fortunately, Okta helps you get identity right by securing your AI agents' identities, giving you a single layer of control, a single standard of trust. So whether an AI agent supports a single user or your entire enterprise, with Okta, you'll turn risk into opportunity. Secure every agent. Secure any agent. Okta secures AI.
Welcome in, hour number 2, Clay Travis, Buck Sexton show. Okay. We got a lot going on, as has been the case for the last several weeks. Breaking news, Minneapolis church protesters have been arrested, several of them. There have been charges brought or attempted to be brought against Don Lemon, among others. There are reports from CBS News confirmed by the Daily Wire that a judge refused to sign the complaint allowing Don Lemon to be arrested. Jack Smith has been testifying. All 3 news networks have been covering his testimony. We will play some of it for you. But again, the Minneapolis news, I think, has taken precedence. And maybe the most surprising thing to me about this at all, Buck, is no one is out there really defending these individuals who were arrested. In fact, the opposite. And even Mayor Fry, who weighed in and said this is a completely inappropriate arrest, it's the first comment that he has made at all about the protest inside of the church. But it feels like there has been a sort of code red ordered on behalf of Democrats to throw this crew to the wolves and not defend them, because I think they recognize the optics were so bad. In fact, yesterday, whether we believe him or not, remember Don Lemon said he hadn't even seen the video of the protest from inside of Minneapolis when he was asked, Gavin Newsom was at Davos about this incident. So it feels like maybe the politics on this are so bad that everybody is running from it. And I'm stunned, frankly, that there are no coverage on MSNBC of these arrests, no coverage on CNN, because if you remember, Buck, remember when that judge in Milwaukee got arrested for interfering with the ICE proceeding, and immediately it was everywhere, and they said, oh my goodness, this is fascism and Trump, and then the video came out of the judge and everybody stopped defending her, and she was later convicted and she's no longer a judge. I do think this is maybe that, where the video came out and Democrats just said, this is such a bad look for us, we're not even going to fight on this ground. Mayor Fry has, but I haven't seen anything of any significant nature from any sort of outspoken national Democrats on it.
Yeah, I think that they've recognized this is a very tough one because, like I said, of the video and the fact that there are specific laws. And do they want to say that those laws shouldn't exist? You know, this is the next level of it is, do we want to be in a country where, keep in mind, if a church isn't protected, neither is a synagogue, neither is a mosque, neither is a Hindu temple. Go down the list. Anytime you want to get attention for yourself and your lunatic cause, you can interrupt a house of worship and cause a riot and shout at everybody and ruin their religious service because you feel like it. By the way, a black church, same thing. You know, if you're in the South and you're at a black church, should some maniac, right wing, left wing, doesn't matter, be able to just shout down everybody in that black church and intimidate them? Of course not. So the law is actually a good law because we don't want what these morons did. Clay, this was a huge tactical error on the part of the street communists, and they're paying the price because the Trump administration isn't playing games.
Third arrest in the last minute. Attorney General Pam Bondi has said that a third individual is now in custody. Again, Politico has reported that there are 7 people charged, and that process is underway. We'll go to some of your calls here in a moment, but I did want to hit this too off the top of the second hour, because I don't think it's going to be talked about very much. And I actually think it is a tremendous accomplishment, one of the best accomplishments so far of Trump 2.0. I'm reading from Axios, Buck. U.S. murder rate hits lowest level since 1900. I want to repeat that because it should be everywhere. Everybody should be talking about this. The murder rate in Trump 2.0 year 1 just hit the lowest level since 1900. Murders fell 21% last year, the biggest one-year drop ever, likely the lowest rate since the year 1900, Axios data says. The decline signals a complete reversal of the COVID-era crime wave. Here are a couple of data points inside of this. Aggravated assaults fell by 9%. Gun assaults and robbery down 22% and 23% respectively. And in some cities, listen to this, Buck, murders fell 40% in Washington, D.C. Do you remember when they told us that Trump surging resources in Washington, D.C. was going to have no impact? 40% in D.C. and in Omaha, Nebraska. Murder down 41% in Denver. And in general, the national murder rate is down to 4 per 100,000 people, the lowest level it has been at since 1900. This is a big deal. This is a really big deal. And I think it's a sign of Trump's, endorsement of law and order, and it's having real impact already.
Well, I'm sure it's coming. Minneapolis right now is the focus, as is Greenland and the negotiations at Davos. But I think this White House is probably going to have a press conference in the days ahead where the first thing we hear from Caroline Leavitt is going to be all these stats that you just shared. If they haven't done this already, maybe I've missed some of this, but they should do that because a few things. One, they deserve, the administration deserves the credit for making a decision in the face of tremendous pushback. And also, this really matters. This isn't adjusting the marginal tax rate for a 12-month period until we figure out what the next appropriations bill is. This is saving people's lives. And so it's important that everyone understands the old way of, sorry, we just have to have X hundred number of murders in this city or that city because that's the way it is, should no longer apply. What's even more, shocking, but maybe it shouldn't be shocking, is, Clay, all the people that were opposed to this should now be saying, wow, murders are way down. Trump was right. We should do more of this. But they won't because they would rather, I don't know how else you could frame this, they would rather more people get shot and killed in D.C., in Memphis, in all these different cities we're talking about. They'd rather more people get shot and killed because they don't have to see that and deal with it if they don't live there or they don't live in one of the bad neighborhoods, than admit that Trump was right and that he's saving lives. Think about that. Imagine that's your moral calculation, because that's the calculation Democrats all across the country are making.
And Buck, this is just going to be 100% true based on the data. Do you know, as we hit the lowest murder rate since 1900, do you know what Donald Trump has done? He's actually proved Black Lives Matter, because overwhelmingly the people whose lives were saved were black because
you got to get that on a
overwhelmingly-
T-shirt. Clay, we got to sell the Clay Travis. Trump has proven Black Lives Matter.
No one has saved more black lives than Donald Trump. I mean, in the history of the presidency, I don't know who was president back in 1900. But when you look, I mean, in all seriousness, it's unfortunate truth that the black murder rate, that is people who are black who are murdered, is, I think it's 20x the white murder rate. I think that number is correct. In other words,
The victims, not perpetrators, talking, right? I think it's 10x perpetrator, 20x victim rate, something like that. Does that sound right?
I think that's about right. We'll have we'll grok it, but I think you are 20 times as likely to be murdered if you are black as if you are white. So my point on that is when murder rates come down, they overwhelmingly are leading to fewer black murders because the numbers are statistically what they are. So if you truly believe that Black Lives Matter and you've been focused on it since George Floyd, no one has done more to save black lives as a president than President Trump has. And the reality is what I love about this, in addition to the fact that way more people are alive, which is a good thing, the DC numbers, Buck. We got lectured. So many journos came out and they wagged their fingers and they either said it's not actually that dangerous, because that's one of the things they would say.
Well, the national, you're right about this, but I think it's interesting, Clay, because remember we talked about it. Journos who didn't live in D.C. were all, D.C.'s great. I went there on a school trip and it was really nice. You know,
I felt super safe. I don't know what they're talking about. Yeah.
I went to a cocktail party once in Georgetown and didn't get shot. What a surprise. The actual journos in D.C., though, including some libs, you remember, there were cracks, there were breaks in the ranks on this where they were like, yeah, no, it's really dangerous. They were the ones who lived there. Some of them started speaking up because they were sick of being worried about getting robbed for their phone on their street corner in nice neighborhoods. So that was real.
The numbers have plummeted. 40% DC murders overwhelmingly saved black lives in DC because almost everyone who dies of murder in DC is black. I mean, that is what the data actually reflects. Also, Buck, this ties in with what we're talking about in Minneapolis. Do you think that just maybe letting ICE go arrest violent criminals in the United States and put people on notice that they're coming for them might also have impacted in a significant way the overall murder rate that we saw happen in this country? I just think if you just objectively step back and just said, hey, let's look at what the data actually reflects. This is where I think President Trump is correct. He's not getting credit for having a transformative first year of his presidency when it comes to border security, when it comes to actual murder rates nationwide, when it comes to locking bad guys up. Think about this. No one alive listening to us today, this is pretty incredible. No one alive listening to us today has ever lived in a United States safer than last year in the United States. That's a pretty remarkable stat. Unless you're, I don't think anybody's 125 years old or 126 years old right now, then none of us have ever been alive in a United States that was safer than President Trump's first year in 2025. And it's a remarkable turnaround since 2020 when the murder rate skyrocketed, that we now have gone to a level of safety that no one living today has ever seen before. You know what I might call that, Buck? Making America great again. In fact, it's not even making
America safe again, for sure.
Making America safer than it's ever been before. We're not even going back to the word again. We're going to a new standard of excellence when it comes to safety in the country. This should be the number one story everywhere in the nation right now. And I bet many of you will not hear it, but for having heard us talk about it. And we'll take some of your calls. We got loaded lines, by the way. Everybody wants to weigh in. We'll take your calls when we come back. Stick with us if you would. And we'll continue to update you on that Minneapolis situation. But in the meantime, I want to tell you Prize Picks. I've got a pick for you. NFC Championship game. The Seattle Seahawks are hosting the LA Rams, and I've got Matthew Stafford to throw more than 1.5 touchdown passes, and I've got Sam Darnold to throw more than 1.5 touchdown passes. If I am correct in that, pays out at 2.75 to 1. That is $5 becomes, probably $14, nearly triple your money. And when you play $5 for the first time, guess what? You get $50 deposited in your account that you can use when you play $5. You can play in all 50 states. Buck's in Florida, he can play. I'm in Tennessee, I can play. You can play out in California, you can play in Texas, you can play in Florida, all over the country. Get hooked up today at prizepicks.com, code Clay. That is prizepicks.com, code Clay. Go sign up. You're going to love it. Prizepicks.com, code Clay.
Stories of freedom. Stories of America. Inspirational stories that unite us all. Each day, spend time with Clay and Buck. Find them on the free iHeartRadio app or wherever you get your podcasts.
Welcome back in, Clay, Travis, Buck Sexton show. Politico has now updated their story to say Don Lemon was not charged. We told you CBS News reported and Daily Wire confirmed that a judge had refused to sign off on the complaint to allow Don Lemon to be arrested. But Attorney General Pam Bondi just posted the last few minutes that a man named William Kelly had been arrested. He is the third individual arrested for going into this church. And I believe we have the audio. I'm just trying to make sure that I get the number right here. Here is cut 36. One of the Minnesota church protesters yesterday, he taunted Attorney General Pam Bondi and dared her to come arrest him. 36.
So, Pam Bondi, you want to come and arrest me? You want to come and give me charges? So be it. And for all the people giving me death threats, threatening my life, kill me. Go ahead, kill me. Because you know what? As Fred Hampton said, you can kill the revolutionary, but you can't kill the revolution.
All right. Well,
not the thing you want to be saying about the AG right now.
There's a couple of other clips of him taunting Pam Bondi. I don't think that went very well for him. Bobby Charles running for governor in Maine. He's been waiting a while to come on with us. Thank you. And I think you have a big legal background, if I remember from our last conversation. Have you heard of a judge like in Minneapolis, as reported by CBS and Daily Wire, refusing to sign off on a complaint for charges to be brought? Have you experienced that in your career?
Actually, no. I never have. Politics has infused itself into the judiciary now in ways that it never was before. I was a litigator in New York and in Maine and in D.C. and I clerked on the Ninth Circuit U.S. Court of Appeals. I never saw a judge not sign off on a valid complaint, and particularly a complaint from the Attorney General of the United States. I just, to be honest, I called in with just two simple points, and I just leave your listenership with them, and I don't want to take up your line. In addition to the fact that we are up by double digits in this state and very likely to become the next governor. The first point is that Maine is the next Minnesota. A spoiler alert. We are living in a state here in Maine where the governor, the Secretary of State, and others, including down to the mayor level, are provoking, in my opinion, violence. Our Secretary of State blocked the issuance of undercover license plates for ICE last week. She directed that anybody who sees ICE that is a government employee needs to let her know, presumably so if you stalk, and then she can tell the so-called nonprofits that are involved in fraud and illegal immigration up here that they can harbor those people, get them out of the way. And the third thing she did is she directed our DMV employees, even though there's a federal statute saying that they should and can report illegal aliens to ICE, that they not do so. So, the second big thing I'm just going to say, and it's very simple, is we're living in an environment nationwide. Minneapolis happens to be the current flashpoint. It may well be that Lewiston, Maine or Portland, Maine become the next flashpoint, in which you have leftist groups and leftist officials who are literally in the business of trying to incite without appearing that they're inciting. And I will tell you that as a former litigator and as a former federal investigator, I did the Waco hearings. I was one of Newt Gingrich's top investigators. for 5 years, we have a statute. It's an obstruction statute, 18 U.S.C. 1501, 1505, 1510, which is interference with criminal investigations, that I think we're at the moment where the federal government should look at these, not just private individuals and not just these nonprofits pushing illegal aliens, but look at people like the Secretary of State in Maine, who incidentally is leading on the left to become the governor. And I think she hasn't got a chance. But on the other hand, the machine is strong here. She is provoking people in such a way that I think it violates 18 U.S.C. 1510. And I think, at a certain point, you have to at least alert people that if you are obstructing justice intentionally out there, trying to rile people up, that there are federal consequences.
Well, thank you for the call. I love this. How can people who are in Maine right now listening to you and saying, boy, that sounds good, what can they do to help?
Well, we are just charging ahead. This campaign has gone vertical. It's the first time since 1962 that it looks like we could even get a majority rather than a plurality victory and win the House and Senate. So this state could turn red. I encourage them all. Go to bobbyformaine.com. Every dollar counts. I'm the Jimmy Stewart guy in this, not the Mr. Potter. So every dollar counts. And again, it's just bobbyformaine.com.
Thank you, sir.
Right.
Good luck. We want you to continue to fight the good fight up there. Larry in Ocala. He's not happy. Ocala's a great place in Florida. You spend any time there, Buck?
I've never been to Ocala.
It's a good spot. What do you got for us, Larry?
Man, it's great. It's good weather. It's getting a little too big, but, everywhere is, I guess, especially in Florida. Man, I think people are missing why we voted for Donald Trump the first time in the first place. We had been lied to over and over about repealing Obamacare. We're going to shrink the size of government. We're going to reduce spending. The Republicans lied to us and lied to us and lied to us. And then they gave us, Ted Cruz. They gave us Marco Rubio. They gave us all these other candidates that we, that we were going to pick from that are conservatives. And we said no. And we said the only way that we can stick our finger in the eye of the Republican Party is to vote for Donald Trump. The guy who acted like a Democrat, but it was a closeted conservative, which was
okay. So let me ask you this. I got you, Larry. You're not happy with Trump first year?
No, not at all. Not even a little bit. Now, you have to take out all the things about the border and all this kind of stuff. Those are easy problems that we have.
Larry, hold on, Larry. Let me pause you here for a sec. I would suggest shutting down the border and making it the most secure it's ever been in the history of our country. And also, if you were listening earlier, having the lowest murder rate in the country since 1900, record high stock prices. I would suggest those are pretty good accomplishments in general and not that easy to do, or else we would have done them before.
Very easily done. Trump did it in less than a year. Very easily done. The difference is the Republican Party don't want it. They don't have the stomach for it. They just won't do what's required to be done. And also, whenever they pass a tax cut, they make it permanent for the corporate class and then make it temporary for the taxpayer. And then they come back and say, well, in order to keep the tax cuts, we got to make this big, massive spending bill.
So okay, let me ask you this, Larry. If it were 2024 all over again, you would not vote for Trump based on what you've seen so far in year one?
Well, let me ask you the answer to my
Come on, Larry.
I'm just saying, Larry. Who would you vote for? Are you a white dude for Harris? Do you think Kamala would have done a better job?
Your argument, the argument for the two-party system is old and outdated. We can no longer say that, if you can't vote Republican, who are you going to vote for?
Okay, I'm just asking you. If you could go back in time, you're unhappy, but I'm just saying if you could go back in time, you would not vote for Trump because you're so unhappy with this year?
I would not vote for Trump for this reason. I'm a service technician by trade. I diagnose problems and then create solutions to fix them. It's what I do for a living. The first thing we have to do is diagnose the problem. And the Republican Party not listening to its voters is the problem. And once we have that
Thank you,
problem
Larry.
diagnosed...
Thank you, Larry. I appreciate you diagnosing the problem.
I like Larry's passion.
I like Larry's passion.
I think he's not the guy you want to call at 2 a.m. if your HVAC goes down, though. I feel like he might be pretty ticked off.
I would just say, look, there is a segment. I looked at what's the number. There's something like 9. Trump has the highest approval rating among Republicans, I think, that he's ever had in his entire political career right now. That doesn't mean that everybody is in the still Trump camp, but I really think, I mean, again, the lowest murder rate since 1900, a completely secure border, a record high stock prices, rapidly accelerating growth rate in the country, and inflation that has come down. I think it's hard to, if you had told me a year ago that we were going to have the lowest murder rate since 1900 and that we would have zero people crossing illegally into the country, I would have thought that was very, very difficult to accomplish, and Trump has done it. In fact, I would have said there's no way that's going to happen. Ransom in Columbus, Ohio. Ransom.
You guys got the golden microphone, and Rush would be proud of you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Just a couple comments. As far as Minnesota goes, they're doing the hearings in Washington. All the state politicians are testifying with, being sworn in for perjury if they lie, and every one of them have come out and said that they believe that Walz and the AG knew that all this fraud was going on. So I would say that I would like Pam Bondi to do conspiracy charge against both of those guys, and then she should take on French fry mayor there in Minneapolis, because once one politician goes down, guess what? There's a precedent, and Clay, you're a lawyer. You know that if you have a precedent for one thing, then it's easier to try the next case. And I would like them to come and get my mayor in Columbus, Ohio, because he's labeled us a sanctuary city, and the chief of police, and they said openly on video, and you can check it out, that they said in no way, shape, or form are they going to help ICE, and we just had a big raid there. So all these little people that think that they're great politicians, they need to be accountable to the voters who gave them their trust. And I appreciate you guys. And the last thing I want to say is, can you beat the ban on the Bud Light thing that you did about a year ago? Because you guys kind of hammered that thing, and next thing you know, Bud Light conformed to the will of the people. We need to get our federal judges in there. Trump can have a great 3 years here, and then you won't have these problems with these magistrates not signing off on the right thing. And I appreciate you guys. Thank you.
Well, thank you for calling. He hit a lot of things there. I do think in the years ahead, what he pointed out about Bud Light, I think it was one of the most transformative, consequential, anti-woke responses that we've seen on any level. And I think it changed fundamentally the way that most, not all, but most companies in America do business, and dragged everybody back to the middle part of the country, and sanity as opposed to insanity. Look, what he's hitting at is, I think, a real question that is very valid. And that is, how in the world can mayors and governors defy federal law and do the sanctuary city aspects? And it was one thing when Biden was in office, and you could then say the immigration policy somewhat signed off and agreed on those. I think it's a real question that's valid across the country. And we will see. I will just say, Buck, as we go to break here and you take us out, one of the most interesting things about these arrests in Minneapolis, Democrats are on their back heels, and they're not fighting these arrests at all. I think the protests in Minneapolis, which they thought initially were going to benefit them quite significantly, maybe the numbers they're seeing nationwide aren't reflecting that most Americans agree that these protesters are making the Democrat Party look better. And now that it's starting to get super cold in Minneapolis, I wonder whether the word is going to go out, hey guys, this is not the win that we thought it was going to be, because they're not standing up for these guys getting arrested right now at all.
Look, home break-ins occur twice every minute on average nationwide. Now, Trump's done a lot to bring down the murder rate nationwide, which is fantastic, but unfortunately there's still a lot of burglary, a lot of home invasions that happen, and that's just the reality of the country we're in for the foreseeable. So you need to tend to your own defense, that of your family, your household. And Sabre has the best non-lethal products on the market for this. The Sabre home defense launcher, for example, has 7 powerful pepper projectiles that will stop the threat in a non-lethal fashion. Because when you need to defend yourself, having extra stopping power can change everything. And protection doesn't stop at your front door. When you're on the move, Sabre pepper sprays, pepper gels, and stun guns give you compact, reliable protection wherever life takes you. When safety matters, America chooses Sabre, the number one brand trusted by law enforcement and people nationwide. Sabre is how it's spelled, S-A-B-R-E. S-A-B-R-E. Don't wait for a close call. Get protection now at sabreradio.com. That's S-A-B-R-E radio.com, or call 844-824-SAFE.
You ain't imagining it. The world has gone insane. Reclaim your sanity with Clay and Buck. Find them on the free iHeartRadio app or wherever you get your podcasts.
Support for the show comes from Public, the investing platform for those who take it seriously. On Public, you can build a multi-asset portfolio of stocks, bonds, options, crypto, and now generated assets, which allow you to turn any idea into an investable index with AI. It all starts with your prompt. From renewable energy companies with high free cash flow to semiconductor suppliers growing revenue over 20% year over year, you can literally type any prompt and put the AI to work. It screens thousands of stocks, builds a one-of-a-kind index, and lets you backtest it against the S&P 500. Then, you can invest in a few clicks. Generated assets are like EFTs with infinite possibilities, completely customizable and based on your thesis, not someone else's. Go to public.com/podcast and earn an uncapped 1% bonus when you transfer your portfolio. That's public.com/podcast. Paid for by Public Investing. Brokerage services by Open to the Public Investing, Inc. Member FINRA SIPC. Advisory services by Public Advisors LLC. SEC registered advisor. Generated assets is an interactive analysis tool. Output is for informational purposes only and is not investment recommendation or advice. Complete disclosures available at public.com/disclosures.
Now I'd like to introduce you to Meaningful Beauty, the famed skincare brand created by iconic supermodel Cindy Crawford. It's her secret to absolutely gorgeous skin. Meaningful Beauty makes powerful and effective skincare simple, and it's loved by millions of women. It's formulated for all ages and all skin tones and types, and it's designed to work as a complete skincare system, leaving your skin feeling soft, smooth, and nourished. I recommend starting with Cindy's full regimen, which contains all 5 of her best-selling products, including the amazing youth-activating melon serum. This next-generation serum has the power of melon leaf stem cell technology. It's melon leaf stem cells encapsulated for freshness and released onto the skin to support a visible reduction in the appearance of wrinkles. With thousands of glowing 5-star reviews, why not give it a try? Subscribe today and you can get the amazing Meaningful Beauty system for just $49.95. That includes our introductory 5-piece system, free gifts, free shipping, and a 60-day money-back guarantee. All of that available at meaningfulbeauty.com.
If your credit card balance is higher than you'd like to see after all the holiday spending, here's one way to cut expenses without sacrificing quality. Cut your cell phone bill in half by switching to Pure Talk's Saver plan. It's just $20 a month for unlimited talk, text, and 3 gigs of high-speed data on Pure Talk's super-fast nationwide 5G network.
And as a veteran-led company who cares about giving back to those who serve, if you're active or former military or a first responder, you'll save an additional 20% every single month. Reduce your monthly recurring bills, starting with your cell phone bill. Go to puretalk.com/Clay and make the switch today in as little as 10 minutes. Again, talk, text, and data for just $20 a month. That's puretalk.com/Clay, and you'll save an additional 50% off your first month. Pure Talk, America's wireless company.
These days, it seems like AI agents are just about everywhere you turn, every field and every function. But without identity, you can't trust they'll serve your business instead of jeopardizing it. Fortunately, Okta helps you get identity right by securing your AI agents' identities, giving you a single layer of control, a single standard of trust. So whether an AI agent supports a single user or your entire enterprise, with Okta, you'll turn risk into opportunity. Secure every agent. Secure any agent. Okta secures AI.
Third hour of Clay and Buck starts right now. I can't believe how fast things are flowing along today. Gavin Newsom, a.k.a. Evil Keanu Reeves. He is coming back, I assume, shortly, if he's not already, from Davos, where he, as I understand it, did not actually get to give a speech last minute. Very upset about this, Gavin is. No surprise. I hear he's flying his shirt at half-mast, Clay. He's only got it buttoned halfway right now, which is...
This is funny. You know, our friend Alexi Lawless ridiculed me recently for buttoning my shirts too tall, too high up. Alexi's like Gavin Newsom, also a Californian. He's like, basically, you should be unbuttoned down to the navel. But it is funny with Gavin Newsom. He's got multiple different buttons undone.
We have a California expert who's joining us now, Katie Zachariah, political legal commentator out on the West Coast. And Katie, thanks for being with us again. You can weigh in on this. First of all, yes. Gavin Newsom, is he just doing what Californians do by having his shirt unbuttoned to his navel, or is this specific to Gavin? Also, what happened to his Davos speech, and why is he in Davos in the first place?
Well, he's in Davos, as everyone has said, to troll President Trump, and extremely unsuccessfully. He was there ahead of him, and then just absolutely got eviscerated and left in the corner, as we all saw in the little kids' table when President Trump walked in the room. And he should have been disinvited from the U.S. House when he was going to give this interview with Fortune. After denigrating the president, who's working a historic national security deal with Greenland, of which our children, grandchildren, and their grandchildren will reap the benefits of, Gavin Newsom has nothing better to do, although I could find some things out in California, than to go and criticize President Trump for a board of peace and Greenland, acquiring Greenland, and will do so without any military force. So he doesn't deserve a seat at the big kids' table, honestly.
It is funny. Did you see, I think he was called Sparkle Ken or something like that. Now, Buck, you watched the Barbie movie, right? If I recall, you said it was trash. I never watched it.
I couldn't even get through it. Tried. It was garbage. I don't care what anybody says. The only reason anyone watched it was nostalgia. It's a garbage movie.
So, Katie, is that an accurate, I'm betting that this may be typecasting, but my wife saw it. I bet most women saw it. I'm betting you saw the Barbie movie. Is Sparkle Ken a good description of Gavin Newsom?
Definitely typecasting. I did not watch it.
Wow.
I'm not much of a movie buff, and if I do watch a movie, it's going to be like a Braveheart or a Gladiator type of movie. And
that's Clay's wife's favorite movie, by the way. So you are now forever welcome on the program. Yeah.
Great movie, one of the best. And honestly, Secretary Besson put up the meme of this, or someone did on X, and that's where I saw Sparkle Ken. And it does represent Gavin Newsom, but I also think, and I keep repeating this, the severity of a governor, of a second-tier governor, low-rate governor, going out against President Trump needs to be taken seriously, because he is the Democrat frontrunner. I watched Kalshi do this entire platform on Gavin Newsom is the not just preferred, but has soared after this trip to Davos to basically troll President Trump as the front runner for the Democrat Party. And so here we land. The Democrat Party now has no platform except to troll President Trump, to have wide open borders, to defy ICE, and to allow criminals to run rampant, and to not build and rebuild a city after a year of a $250 billion of wildfire damage, and leave, as Secretary Besson said, the residents of California homeless while you're trolling President Trump. That's what we have from the Democrat Party. And it's actually a pretty serious indictment on all of the people in their party and no policy positions.
Katie, to hit what you just said, Kalshi's favorites to be nominated as the Democrat nominee in 2028. Gavin Newsom has a 35% chance. Second place is AOC at a 10% chance. So he has not only got the lead, he's got a pretty crazy significantly. Josh Shapiro, 8% chance. Kamala Harris, 6% chance. So you're right. California Governor Gavin Newsom has soared. Do you think he is electable? Now, I know he's awful, and I know he's been a disaster for California, but take that away. Could he beat J.D. Vance? Could he beat Marco Rubio? He, I think, is an adroit politician, sadly. And Democrats have shown, they almost elected Kamala Harris. I can't imagine Gavin Newsom would be a worse candidate than her.
Right. So you look at those 7 swing states that President Trump dominated against Kamala Harris, and he can't win a Pennsylvania and a Michigan and a Wisconsin, right? The first place he went was North Carolina to announce his kind of soft campaign, but not really. He did this squishy thing because he knows his state's a dumpster fire. But he's basically gone to North Carolina to soft campaign for the presidential. And you look at these swing states, and I don't think, it's my assessment, he cannot win those swing states against a J.D. Vance. He doesn't work for middle America. The greasy kind of slick back hair and California button down shirt and no policy. It works for the media. It works for X-Hype and to have this press room troll President Trump, but he's not running against President Trump. As you just said, would it be J.D. Vance or Marco Rubio? And then he's going to have to start falling on his policies when he's not trolling President Trump anymore. And what does he have to stand on? And middle America, I think, sees this in Gavin Newsom. So is he electable? In my opinion, he's not. And if the Democrat Party continues going on with Gavin Newsom, maybe we're going to get another clean sweep of those 7 swing states with JD or Marco.
So what's going on, Katie, with, I can't even believe I'm saying this, that Swalwell has been considered the front runner to take over Gavin's seat. Because first of all, that means, Clay, now you're going to have Swalwell 6 buttons down.
Buck, I actually think Swalwell is worse than Gavin Newsom. I don't think Gavin Newsom is a moron. I think Swalwell is actually stupid and really kind of diabolical in his stupidity.
All true.
Yes.
But now there's some problem. There's some problem with he doesn't even live in California. Do Californians care? What's going on?
California. Well, look, you have the situation of the mortgage fraud with Letitia James. And now you look at Swalwell, who wants to run for governor of California, and he's not even a resident of California. So no, he can't run. And that's real. And as he was but even go back before they expose where his residency is, he was trying to say that he was going to revoke the driver's licenses for ICE agents. Now, why are ICE agents in California to begin with? Because Gavin Newsom and Kamala Harris left the border wide open and we're having to deport criminals in our, quote, sanctuary state and sanctuary jurisdiction, which all just got a notice by President Trump. They are going to have federal funding revoked, every sanctuary jurisdiction across the country, because they are in violation of our supremacy clause. So Swalwell already is just falling flat on his face because he cannot revoke the driver's licenses of ICE agents in California. So it's hot air. And then to see, actually, you're not even a California resident. You can't run. So now they have Swalwell's out, Katie Porter and the disastrous launch of her campaign. She's out. So you're looking at this kind of, who is it? Are we going to get a Republican? Because again, the Democrats are just not bringing forth candidates that are electable.
I think it's a really super interesting question that you are asking about, at what point do you think, and are we there, Californians might finally throw up their hands and be willing to change directions? Because we've had Steve Hilton on this program a lot. I know he's running an aggressive campaign all over the state of California. What would it take for a Republican to be able to win, in your mind, a statewide elected office again in the state of California?
The first thing, and I'm going to go really quickly federal, we're starting to see an uptick of the SAVE Act. And this is absolutely necessary for the security of our elections going forward and for our win of the 26 midterms. And then to go back to California, voter ID. We have to have voter ID in California. We now have it right. Currently, we have a law that was passed in the Senate and signed by Gavin Newsom that poll workers, it is illegal to ask for a driver's license and proof of ID. It is illegal in California. So Carl DeMaio, our assemblyman, led an initiative that's getting a lot of steam, including support, verbal support, and support from Elon Musk on voter ID in California. That is going to be on the ballot in 26, this election cycle. And once that happens, I think we're going to see, including with voter rolls and new conservative and common sense and Republican voter registration, I think we will see a turnaround in California. I may be too optimistic, and having lived in California my whole life, but people are sick and tired of these policies. They're sick and tired of the gas prices that are still high 4s, low 5s. And when we have voter ID and we regulate who goes to the ballot box to vote, and you have to be a citizen, it's a game changer. And that's an 80-20 issue, believe it or not, in California. Once that's on the ballot, it's an easy yes for people. And we're going to see, in my mind, a big shift in the electorate, big shift in politicians, but not until then. I don't think 26 is winnable right now for a Republican without voter ID.
What's the status, Katie?
Sorry, Steve Hilton.
What's the status of the wealth tax on the billionaires? Got a lot of media attention the last few weeks. Seems like it's, Minneapolis and Davos are certainly leading the news cycle right now. But there was, it seemed a little bit of, wow, the numbers, the math doesn't math, as the kids say, if these billionaires leave. What's the latest on that?
Yeah, that's all driven by our wonderful Ro Khanna. We just have so many great people out of California in politics. Gavin Newsom has actually said he doesn't support this because he knows that all of the wealth will leave California. The status is, I think they're still trying to get this on the ballot. And it's something that's being pushed, but simultaneously you have a lot of billionaires going to, guess where? Florida, the land of the free and home of the brave. And they're at least relocating their business in 51% of their ownership or citizenship, so they're not going to have to pay that tax because it will be retroactive. It will go all the way back to January 1st, 2026 for those billionaires. So I think they're hedging their bets. If this works, if it goes through, then they don't want to be part of it. It's unfortunate.
Great to talk to you, Katie Zachariah. Keep California sane until we can make it great again, because it has been a great place in the past. Thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you.
Speaking of California, how about Baja bedding sets? That's right, my friends. From Cozy Earth, they're incredible. We've got them here. Everyone loves it, including Ginger. This is where you all find out that, of course, there's the sheets for humans, but those are for Ginger, too, because she sleeps on our bed. So she loves the Baja bedding set. Cozy Earth's first fully matching collection. Sheets, duvet, cover, quilt, the whole shebang, all inspired by the lovely beach setting of Baja, California. For those of you who have never been to that part of Mexico and their coastline, just imagine crystal blue ocean water, sandy white beaches, and waking up to that every morning. That's the Baja, California vibe that Cozy Earth has captured here. They've also upped their towel game with their Luxe bath towels. These towels are incredibly plush and absorbent, kind of towels you want to reach for as you get out of the shower. Like Cozy Earth sheets, these products come with a 100-day trial and a 10-year warranty. They want you to be satisfied. They believe in their product quality. So go online to CozyEarth.com. Use my name, Buck, as your promo code for up to 20% off. That's CozyEarth.com, CozyEarth.com, promo code Buck. And if you get a post-purchase survey, mention you heard about Cozy Earth right here.
News and politics, but also a little comic relief. Clay Travis and Buck Sexton. Find them on the free iHeartRadio app or wherever you get your podcasts.
These days, it seems like AI agents are just about everywhere you turn, every field and every function. But without identity, you can't trust they'll serve your business instead of jeopardizing it. Fortunately, Okta helps you get identity right by securing your AI agents' identities, giving you a single layer of control, a single standard of trust. So whether an AI agent supports a single user or your entire enterprise, with Okta, you'll turn risk into opportunity. Secure every agent. Secure any agent. Okta secures AI.
My favorite thing about Shipt since I signed up for Target Circle 360? No price markups when I order same-day delivery from tons of local stores. Only a handful of alcohol retailers and items don't count. I won't lie, I've had too much fun being like, markups on groceries? Not in my fridge. Markups on pet food? Not for my DOG. Markups on tools, electronics, home goods, meds? Not in my house. Anyway, it's awesome. Order now at shipped.com/360. Terms apply.
Well, the holidays have come and gone once again, but if you've forgotten to get that special someone in your life a gift, well, Mint Mobile is extending their holiday offer of half off unlimited wireless. So here's the idea. You get it now, you call it an early present for next year. What do you have to lose? Give it a try at mintmobile.com/switch.
Limited time 50% off regular price for new customers. Upfront payment required. $45 for 3 months, $90 for 6 months, or $180 for 12-month plan. Taxes and fees extra. Speeds may slow after 50 gigabytes per month when network is busy. See terms.
This is an iHeart podcast. Guaranteed human.